that we are getting on the broadcast, and this is after the Delhi bill, the ordinance that is now a bill where the control of services has been given back to the centre's another big move has come about. There is a bill seeking to remove the Chief Justice of India from the poll panel. This is the centre's bill on appointment of the poll body chief. They have ended up asking for the removal of the Chief Justice of India from that panel, and that is going to be tabled in the Rajya Sabha. So bill seeks to remove the Chief Justice of India from the poll panel. That is the big breaking that we are in fact putting out for our viewers. This of course is going to be sparking a huge debate both in the Rajya Sabha and also in the Lok Sabha and outside the parliament, as it seeks to remove the Chief Justice of India from the poll panel. It's a big move. This bill is in fact set to go ahead and further create a lot of discrepancies, and this is while the no trust vote is being debated in the Lok Sabha. Remember, this is a proposal that will be part of this bill by the centre on appointment of the poll body chief. This bill seeks to remove Chief Justice of India from the poll panel. It will be tabled in the Rajya Sabha today. In fact, there will be a lot of voices who are also going to be speaking against this particular bill that the centre is all set to table in the upper house of the parliament. Let me take this across to my colleague Ananya, who is joining us on the broadcast. Ananya, after the ordinance that's now an act that's been passed by both the houses of the parliament, there was another big move by the centre, but seeking the removal of the Chief Justice of India specifically from the poll body. How does one look at it?
Well, definitely, this is, but we have to also remember that this bill is being coming after the Supreme Court has given out, and in fact, it was a constitution bench which had, of the Supreme Court, which had set up a committee with regards to, appointment of a CECs and the ECs as well. And very categorically, 3 members were included: the Prime Minister, the Leader of Opposition, and the Chief Justice of India, as per the Supreme Court judgment. And on the aid and advice of this particular committee, there would be CEC and ECs would be appointed by the President on the advice of this particular committee. But now the centre has brought in this particular bill again before, in fact, the Parliament, wherein the CJI has been replaced with the Union Cabinet Minister. So, politics will be playing up on this very, very categorically, because the Chief Justice of India has been removed, and in fact, a Union Minister has been included in this body, which gives the BJP or any other ruling party which is actually having its PM, not only talking about this particular scenario, but in the future as well. If at all somebody would be having, a Prime Minister of their own party, they can include a Union Cabinet Minister of their own party, and then they would have a larger say onto this. But how will this bill actually play up in fact, both the House, whether there would be opposition to this bill, whether there would be a discussion on this bill, that we'll have to wait and watch for. But this significant changes now come in. Another Supreme Court judgment has been reversed by this particular bill, but whether or not this gets the assent of the Parliament or not, that is something that is to be seen. This bill will be introduced by in fact the Union Minister for Law and Justice with independent charge, Mr. Arjuna Meghwal, and we have to see as to how things actually play. But if we talk about the number game, the numbers are with the BJP, but whether there would be certain kind of discussions, whether there would be certain kind of changes that will be suggested, that is something that we'll have to wait and watch for. But at this point of time, this is a very, very significant move that is coming in, and not only at the Parliament level, but also at the level of judiciary. We'll see that this comes up in the next few weeks, or in this week itself, that a petition comes in with regards to challenging this particular bill that is there, that is being tabled before the Parliament, alleging that the Supreme Court judgment has now been reversed. But we have to also remember that when the Supreme Court had actually passed this judgment, it has said that this judgment will prevail until a new law actually comes in by the Parliament, and there is no stopping to the Parliament to actually frame a law when it comes to this. So there would be a legal challenge to it at some point of time, but we'll have to see as to how things play up when the Parliament the bill is actually discussed at the Parliament level.
Absolutely. Ananya, I also want to understand from you, this is also leading up to that entire political showdown that had happened when it comes to centre versus the judiciary, and this introduction of the bill in the upper house of the Parliament is going to further that debate as well.
Well, definitely that will give rise to the centre versus judiciary debate, and we have seen how things have gone in with regards to we have seen clashes of the centre and the judiciary happening when this bill with regards to the GNGTT Act had come in, when there are judicial appointments taking place. So
Yes.
how things play out, whether the Supreme Court would be having a good view of this law, or the Supreme Court would have certain strong comments to it, that will only be seen when the matter actually comes up before the topmost court of the country, whether when there is a challenge made to this particular bill that is being introduced in the parliament by the union law minister at this point of time.
Right. Ananya, thank you so much for all of that information. Let me now take this across to my colleague Pallavi, who is joining us on the broadcast for more on this story. Pallavi, Ananya tells us that there is an inclusion of a union minister in the panel as opposed to the Chief Justice of India. At least that is a removal, that important removal that the centre is seeking with this bill that they are all set to introduce in the Rajya Sabha. Do we know about any names here? Pallavi, are you able to hear me?
Well, I'm just going to, I'm just second guessing your question, but clearly this is yet another issue on which the opposition will have a problem with, because they feel that in any case they've always accused the Election Commission of actually doing and working at the behest of the government, and they feel that the only kind of an ombudsman or someone who could have ensured that things are non-partisan, you are doing away with that procedure as well. And this is also one of the objections coming in from the India front opposition parties, is that you are just bulldozing through all the legislation. There's no scope for a debate and a discussion on these key bills, and many of them, like the Delhi Ordinance Bill, which ideally should have gone to a committee, is not actually being sent to the committee. So the point which is being raised over here is that the bulldozing of legislation. But the government's counter to that has been, no one is stopping you. You're the ones who are ensuring that the house doesn't run. You behave in a decorum manner. You ensure that the house is in order. And we would encourage everyone to actually be a part of debate and discussion, which we did see as far as the Delhi Ordinance Bill is concerned.
Absolutely. And Pallavi, what I was asking you, if you're able to hear me clearly now, I wanted to understand, do we know of any specific name? Which is the union minister who has been included in that panel? At least that suggestion has been made by the centre through the introduction of this bill.
I think we'll have to wait for some more clarity, because there is the bill which needs to be taken up in Rajya Sabha, and I guess it's going to be easy for the government to kind of clear the bill, and it's not going to be a problem with that. But I'm just focusing on the fact that, the opposition is going to use this as yet another example. See, consistently the India front opposition has been making the point that every institution of a country is now compromised, and therefore it is very important that there should be a cross and check. And with this latest bill, that one step where that cross check could have taken place, that also you're doing away with.
Absolutely. Pallavi, like you had already preempted that point that I'm asking you, I wanted to understand this one aspect from you, is that this bill is seeking to go ahead and further escalate that entire controversy that continues when it is about the government of the centre and the judiciary. What is the opposition now planning on doing? What is their next step as the centre plans to introduce this bill in the Rajya Sabha?
Next step, we'll have to see if the House even runs, because we saw Rajya Sabha, for example, and both Lok Sabha have actually been adjourned a short while back. In a best case scenario, the opposition parties can get together and they can insist that the bill is sent to a committee, so that they can at least buy some more time. But politically speaking, I think this is going to add on to the many lists of allegations against the government of compromising of the federal structure, misusing or diluting the powers of the institutions and key institutions which are important for the democratic structure. I remember very recently both Congress and Mamata Banerjee have made these allegations that if the elections had been fair, then perhaps we would have won and BJP would not have won. Misusing of the election commission, rigging of elections, that has been always the standard allegation coming in from the opposition parties. When the India front meets in Mumbai at the end of the month, I think this is also going to be yet another point that they would want to add on the manifesto or a common minimum program for 2024. All
right, Pallavi, I request you stay on with us. We also have Mr. PDT Achary, who's a constitutional expert, who's joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Achary, I'd want to first get in your views on what do you have to say about this proposal by the centre now that they plan to introduce this bill that is removing the Chief Justice of India from the poll panel. Your first words on that, sir.
Well, there was a purpose behind the inclusion of Chief Justice in the panel. There was a purpose. And, that was to involve a very high constitutional functionary
Yes.
to decide about the appointment of, high constitutional office holders. So that means the selection will be fair, objective, and free from controversy. That was the purpose. Now, if Chief Justice is thought to be removed, naturally, so that means the government perhaps doesn't want the Chief Justice or such high functionaries to be on the board.
Okay.
It's very obvious.
All right. All right, Mr.
It is
Achary.
obvious. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your views, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. In fact,